Anyway, yeah, it's this coming Saturday, 2 events back to back. Both will be fun. And then next week, on Tuesday the 21st, my guest will be our buddy Carmen Mormino.
Oh, cool.
And we'll be a realtor extraordinaire. And we'll be talking about what 2024 looks like, setting goals and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then on Tuesday the 28th, we will have Lisa Allen, astrologer, on, and we're going to be talking about 2024, astrologically, what it looks like. We still have planets that are retrograde.
It's so crazy.
Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Neptune, Jupiter, and Uranus are still retrograde, and 2 of them turn in December. Uranus doesn't turn until January 27th. So we got to ride this out, and we're already starting to feel the effects of Mercury retrograde.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I hear it all the time from Audie.
Fun. But what's really fun is we said last week that on Saturday, December the 2nd, at our center, we have an open house, holiday shopping, and so on and so forth.
Cool.
But really cool thing, and our producer and director back there, Ed, said that on Wednesday the 29th, instead of Audrey's show being here, it's going to be done remotely at the center.
Oh, cool.
And we'll do a live call-in and showing all the gifts that we have. Selena will be part of that show. And so it'll be let's just call it
it's like a QVC kind of vibe.
It will be like a QVC, yes. In fact, we probably will need Becca to join us so she can answer phones and take orders. So that is going to be a really fun show on the 29th. And we've done that before, but we did it in the past. Yeah. And some of you may have seen it where Audrey is broadcasting from her Facebook and I was broadcasting from mine. And we sort of had dueling cameras. But Ed will be one. You'll see how Ed does it. So it's going to be.
Is he going to have the big camera on his shoulder? And he's going to be filming the whole time?
Yeah. It's like,
going old school, Ed.
National Network will be here at the Newmont Center.
Yep.
So we have that to look forward to. So what I've been talking about with my guests is, this is November 14th. We're literally 6 weeks away from the new year, right?
Wow, it is.
And what do we need to be thinking about from now? What intentions do we need to be setting, when it comes to health? And there are so many things that we'll get into tonight. Like, for instance, at our center, which is, there's a lot of secrets there, but we don't want them to be secrets. To help your health, we have a Seragem bed, which is an infrared acupuncture bed that you lay on for about 40 minutes.
It's great.
Which is right? It's awesome.
I fell asleep.
It gives you an adjustment. You get infrared treatment. And we have a 3-person, not that I want 3 people in there.
Just husband and wife.
We have a 3-person infrared sauna that's, off of my office. And is incredible for lymphatic treatment, sweating out toxins. I mean, infrared is so good for you. I mean, you go in that box for 45 minutes to an hour at 140 degrees. I mean, you come out soaking wet, but you're a lot healthier for it. And even traditional doctors say infrared is very good for us.
Yeah. Maybe I'll grow some hair after that.
You start taking more testosterone.
Maybe something.
Growing hair all over the place. See, we're going to drift back into that. All right, so I'm going to go there. I am going to go there because I can't do this with another guest. So comments before the show started about someone that's a mutual acquaintance of all of us and asking if they are going to have another child, and the question came up as to are they trying or not? And I started laughing. And it's so polite to say a couple, when they want to have another child, is using that phraseology, trying. And we know what that means. I mean, we're all adults.
Somewhat.
It's not about, not you.
Not me.
It's like, it's just, you don't have to have that visual, but when people talk about wanting to have a child or another child and they're trying, we all know what's going on, right?
Do. It's almost Wednesday. Hump Wednesday.
Hump day. Tomorrow's hump day. Well, that's Audrey's show tomorrow. Tune in for hump day. Hi, Audrey. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be one of those shows, but that's all right.
Bunch of guys
good,
here just having a good time.
right? Where's the bourbon?
I got coffee.
There we go.
That's close enough.
Good enough. So my good friend here, Brandon, he is my trainer, and he does a good job of kicking my butt politely. And I elected a few weeks ago to start working out again. One, because I need to get into better shape, and also he knows how to work with me, and he does a great assessment of his clients and what to do for them and the pace that he needs to take them at. And, I'm, almost twice your age, but you're really good at working with the mature form and how to get it to perform optimally without creating injuries. And by the way, I feel great.
Good.
Nothing sore.
Give it like another day or two.
Nah.
No.
Hey, I may have gray hair, but I'm not old and decrepit. Jeez. So, look, one of the things that we are looking at is why start working out from now? This is November. I started a few weeks ago, and the holidays are coming.
They
and
are.
we all know that the holidays
Next week.
can be, well, if you consider Halloween. For
Oh,
people,
yeah. I didn't think about that.
right?
Yeah.
So people have their own rationale when it comes to food, exercise, their intentions, their resolutions, and I hate that word resolutions
I know,
because
I
that's a mental treadmill. You're never going anywhere. So what we want to look at is what can people do? What do you believe is the mentality that people have to have this time of year?
Yeah.
Because some people just go, the hell with it.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, in January, I'll start again.
That's the hard thing. 'Cause
Okay.
A lot of people end up doing that.
Yeah, they do,
I was one of them. Still am sometimes.
right?
My wife's right there, so I'll tell you.
So at this point in time, we all know that even if you're organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, whatever, you're going to go to parties, you're going to go to events that there just isn't going to be all your food choices there.
Yeah.
So there are, well, if you don't want to face that stuff, then don't go out, don't socialize.
Yeah.
But what do people need to do in general as we approach the holidays? What kind of mentality and intention do we need to have?
I think the biggest thing is really when you set your intention, you want to I've read studies about this kind of stuff, and so us as humans, we need to socially interact with people, right? So we need to have that connection outside of our home. So I think if you can kind of set the intention of knowing I'm going to go out and have a good time and have one beer or have one glass of wine or whatever it may be, have a cheat meal, whatever, dessert, whatever it is. I think if you allow yourself to have that, I think it's perfectly fine, right? Because a lot of us, we say, nope, I don't want it, right? And you can definitely do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, if you're trying to, do something it's going to mess that up. But in regards to that, it's one of those where you have to look at it from another standpoint of, okay, if I cut this out, what am I losing? What am I gaining? Because if you're cutting everything out, then you're really cutting your whole social life out in that aspect, you know, because now you're well, I don't want to go out to dinner because they have fatty foods and the food's going to make me feel like this. And I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to pay the high price of food nowadays. So you really have to set the intention of okay, this year, I definitely want to exercise 4 or 5 days a week. Audie, my wife, her intention for so long at the beginning of the year is I want to work out 5 days a week and I want to run 3 days a week, right? And she didn't do that. She didn't accomplish that. And every day I ran and every day I did something, I think she started to look at it and be like, wow, I'm really not doing what my New Year's resolution is. And so I told her, I said, you have to make changes, but it's also small changes. You just can't go from 0 to 100 and expect everything, right? You have to look at it from a standpoint, okay, my first goal is to be able to work out twice this week, right? Let me just get on the treadmill. Let me go for a walk. I'm going to go for a hike, whatever it may be. And then you kind of add a little more to that. And so I think for her, it was one of those, okay, once she figured out her schedule and what worked for her, then it was much easier to kind of map out her day and map out my day. Because as an entrepreneur and someone that also has like another job, it's trying to find the balance. Like I have 3 jobs, right? We were talking about this earlier when we were training, and that's the hardest part is how do you balance your social life with your health life with work life, you know? And I think you grind every day, right? You're in the morning to the night, and even when it's softball season. So what do we do to make sure you don't feel exhausted, right? Overtrained, because you could be overtrained not just physically but mentally as well, right?
Sure.
So I think you got to look at different aspects of your life and know, okay, this season is candy, pumpkin pie, you know, like whatever it may be, your choice of dessert. Audrey always makes cheesecake for me, and there's plenty of times where I'm like, no, but then I take like half of it at home because she just gives it to me, right? So I have to, like, I know, like, when I get home, it's not going to last. Like, I'll eat it, but I won't feel guilty for it.
Right.
So if you know going into this, like, okay, I'm going to give myself Thanksgiving to have a cheat day. I'm going to give myself Christmas or Christmas Eve, you know, or Hanukkah, whatever it may be.
Right.
You really have to set that intention of knowing that it's okay to not judge yourself for eating that stuff or not moving as much, you know what I mean? But I guess it really depends on you, you know what I mean? Like what your goals and what your ambitions are, because mine's much different than yours, much different than Audie's, much different from everyone else's. So if you know what you really want in 2023, at the end of it, 6 weeks left, then at least you can map out each day, you know?
Sure. Well, and of course, you and I were talking this morning that, you know, when I was in my 20s and I was single, you know, along with playing, you know, at least in the fall, sandlot football, I had a workout regimen. I told you the amount of weights I had in my living room.
Yeah.
And
bachelor pad right there.
Right. It was. But I had no commitments. Yeah. And I worked out. I was built like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
You know.
That was your intention. You know what I mean? Like you probably didn't even know you were cutting everything out, you know, because your main focus was, I want to lift weights, I want to look good, I want to feel like a new person. And I think that's what a lot of us do, is we do things to build more confidence within ourselves. And maybe that's what people need, is to give themselves 6 weeks of nothing and just let them grind it out. So by 2024 of January 1st, they feel like a whole new person where they can go out and physically feel more attractive, you know what I mean? Or feel a certain way with that kind of stuff, because that all incorporates, you know, health.
Well, how you feel is huge.
Yeah.
And
100%.
You know, when a person works out a little bit, all right, and they feel good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they recognize, I feel good. You know, when you work out, there is an endorphin rush that comes from that. It's one of the greatest natural antidepressants there is.
Yeah, 100%.
But when you feel good and you see results, that becomes the inspiration to create momentum to do more. If I could feel like this, then I can feel like this more often. Because one of the things that we all know when it comes to the ugly word diet, they don't work because it has to do with depriving. And you know, our good mutual friend Eloise Buckner, the nutritionist, hydrocolon therapist, when people talk about losing weight, she redirects them. Because as humans, we're trained not to lose. We don't like to lose. So get rid of that vocabulary.
And you got to look at, like, from a standpoint of that, but then also, like, if you're eating McDonald's every day, you know what I mean? That's a whole other story, right? There's people that can do that and look physically fit, right? But, like, they may look like that on the outside, but what does everything look like from the inside, right?
Not good.
That itself can destroy you from a lot of different aspects. I was one of them, you know, working with my last job, traveling all over the place. I was literally drinking lattes and eating a Cliff Bar, and then eating like Del Taco at night, because airport food is crap food, right? And so I didn't realize our mutual friend Jeff that passed away years ago, he was the one who told me, like, you need to change your way of living, because the amount of stress you have and the amount of food that you're putting and the amount of crap that's in food is affecting all these XYZs. And when Audie saw that, she was like, wow, like, you definitely need to change some of these habits. And I mean, one of the habit was quitting my job and starting this whole, you know, entrepreneur personal training, run coaching stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at it from a standpoint like that. That health it's a huge industry.
Well, without it, you can have other things, money and all that, without your health.
Oh yeah, I mean maybe that's what people rather have, rather have more health. I mean, like corporate America, in my opinion, they work you to the bone, right? You work this job, you worked in that kind of field, you work so hard for like no appreciation in some sense of being a company, right? And then you don't realize that like all the stress, not taking care of yourself, everything kind of goes down, and then you start to get this weird depression. It's like the timeline Audrey talks about. Then you kind of go waves up and down, and it makes you think about like, okay, what am I doing that's going to benefit myself in the future, like long term, like short term is short term, small goals, but the short term goals will eventually be your long term dream, your ambition, whatever it is.
I want you to expound on that when it comes to goals and working out, like short term, mid-term, long term. So you help people plan. You don't just show up and put them through exercises. You have game plans for people.
Yeah, I mean, all my athletes that I train for coaching for running, they have. So their main objective could be running the Boston Marathon. Like I was talking to one client before here, and hers is running the Boston Marathon, hitting a sub goal that she has in mind. And so that gives us from December until April to like get that right. So I had to have this like personal conversation with her and be like, okay, short-term goal is we're going to work on these things that are going to make you much faster to hit this midterm goal, which your midterm goal would be a half marathon at a certain pace at a certain time, right? And then expand on that to her long-term goal, which would be the Boston Marathon, right? She has this ideal goal that she wants to hit. And I said, okay, these are what we have to do to get you here. But if you keep doing like all these different things in between the training, it's going to affect you long-term where you're not giving your body enough rest or not giving your body enough recovery to really build on what we're doing, because we can build and build and build. Sure. And then all of a sudden, if you don't take care of yourself, then really the work that you're putting in is not gonna show in the long term. Like people at the gym and people that I train, someone like you, your long-term goal may be just longevity, right? And so when you look at it from a standpoint like that, it's like, what am I going to create for Nick that's going to give him the essentials, right? And then give him what he needs to feel good and also feel confident and also feel like I'm not just an older gentleman that doesn't feel this way. Like, because a lot of us compare ourselves way too much, right? We look at ourselves from a standpoint of, I used to be like this in the past, right? And I want to look like this in the future, right? But when you kind of look at it from the past, like 20 years ago, Nick is much different than 20 years now, right? So your mentality is different. And I think that's where like health typically starts at. It's not just the physical part, it's getting out of that physical aspect and thinking more of a mental aspect. Like Audie and I talk about like working from within and figuring out, okay, what's the main intention and what's the main drive that's going to help us achieve the long picture goal, you know what I mean? And so I think for you, it's looking at it from a standpoint, okay, like I want to be healthy. I want my daughters to have kids so then I could be, a grandpa and then I can take care of those kids and not feel like I can't do anything, right?
Right.
My mom, for instance, she's at that stage where she doesn't really do that. And her type of workout is in the garden. We go to the garden. Right. A lot of Asian moms do that in general. They like just being in the garden. It's very zen for them.
Yeah, it's like therapy.
Yeah. And so even though it doesn't seem like she's doing like bicep curls or doing whatever at the gym, but she's literally pulling weeds out in a squat position the whole time for like 2 hours. And then I want my mom to be more active like that, but it's also what she feels inside and what she feels like is going to be like the right approach to that, because she won't ask me any questions. She'll ask Audie more than anything, because she rather hear it from her than hear it from me. And that's just how stubborn we are in general. But I mean, it's interesting because when you look at people's perception of what they want to be and what they want to achieve, maybe they're going based on social media. Maybe they're going based on, oh, my friend looks like this, I want to look like that, right? But like intuitively, like I can just pick up that's not their real intention. You know, that's not
Surely.
what they, that's not, I mean, you're psychic, you know, but that's not what they really need. You know what I mean? Maybe what they need is just someone to tell them, like, you're perfect the way you are. Let's just start moving little by little, and get that cardiovascular up, and let's get that little bit of light training up, you know? So when you break down goals, I break down goals weekly. So, okay, like, and I had this conversation with someone last year where you're like, okay, my end goal for the week is to be able to run 2 new routes and running and get this much climbing in, and then get this many miles in, right? So if that's the bigger picture, what do you do each day to achieve that bigger picture? And I think it makes it much easier to achieve things weekly than sometimes if you put things in so far advance, it takes you away from the present moment of like, oh
Sure.
crap, like I need to like, like you think, okay, if I didn't do it this time, the next week I'm going to double up, and then I'm going to triple on this day, and then all of a sudden it's like you stack more, and then what happens when you don't achieve that, you know?
Well, yeah.
And all of a sudden,
quit.
like, people quit, and that's what tends to happen during holiday time. Is someone's like, okay, I'm not gonna eat anything dessert, right? And then all of a sudden they eat a pumpkin pie, and they're like, ah, crap, you know what I mean? And then they start all over. Okay, I'll just wait till next year. You know, I'll just wait till next year. But I think, like, you can't judge yourself for that. You know, a lot of us do, and I'm one of them.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I'm slowly getting over that.
Well, let me say something
Yeah.
on your behalf.
Yeah.
This gentleman puts his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
He is a long distance runner,
Yeah.
and I was never a long distance runner. In the sports I played, I was a sprinter, fast but in bursts. But tell them, what is the most miles you've run in one?
So 54 miles is my goal. That's what I've done, you know, 54, 55. But my main
55 miles
around Big Bear,
in
you know,
in one day.
And to me, it's kind of funny because, like, people will be like, wow, that's a lot of miles, right? But then to me, as a long distance runner, I see people run 200-mile races, 300-mile races, and I think that same thing. I'm like, wow, that's so crazy, but I don't give myself enough credit. We don't give ourselves enough credit for that stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I should give myself more credit. Like, as a long distance person, I've done multiple long distance races, and I can tell you that it all sucks regardless. It doesn't suck in that sense. It just, you suffer, but the outcome of the suffering is like, you know, like Buddha talks about that stuff, right? So, like, in the moment you suffer, but in the bigger picture, it's always worth the suffering because you overcame that obstacle.
Right. Well, when people set goals,
Yeah.
and and you were just talking about it, if people don't set short-term goals that are doable,
Yeah.
that will cause them to quit.
Yeah.
But in a positive way,
Yeah.
when people set short-term goals and they achieve, that creates the feeling of success and
Yep.
gives a lift, like, okay, I did that. Now we can go on to the next, because a
Yep.
person could start working out 1 day a week. They feel good. Then they find 2 days a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's even funny when so there's a guy that I followed back in 2019, 2020. His name was David Goggins, Navy SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL guy.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people know who he
that
is.
Yeah.
But when you listen to a story, it's kind of fascinating in the sense where, like, his mindset comes from, because he grew up with a lot of crazy stuff happening to him. And so he had to change the perception of, like, how he saw himself and, like, his whole lifestyle and everything like that. But it really does, when you do something great and it's hard, he calls it the cookie jar. And so when you're having a hard time, you pull that out of that memory, or whatever it is, out of that cookie jar, and it really reframes your thinking. Because a lot of us are like, it's okay, I had a good week and that's it, right? But, like, when you consistently pull things out of that, when you're having moments like that, it really does change your perception of, like, wow, I am great. I am good at this. I am getting better. You know what I mean? Like, that whole I am feeling where you're like, I am connected to God, I am connected to this, really does change your perception on the sensation you want to feel. And I mean, like, it's all positive. Like, you really go 1 week. It's kind of funny because it can have a good thing or bad thing, right? You either get super sucked into it. You're like, okay, I need to feel this way all the time. And it literally takes your present, like, moment out of context. Or it's like one of those, you just like, okay, like, I'm going to stop. You know what I mean? Like, 1 week was good. That's all I needed. You know what I mean? Like, I had a goal for myself, running every day for a year, right? And then I got to 11 months and some change, and I ended up getting food poisoning really bad. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm like 2 weeks away from hitting a year of running every day, at least a mile. And then I told Audie, I said, I'm going to go run. She's like, are you serious? You just like you're like throwing up in the toilet for like 2 hours kind of thing. And I said, well, I got to hit my goal. And then I tried to get up and go, and I couldn't move. And then it kind of created this whole like spiral for a little bit. But then I realized, well, I did it for 11 months. I should be happy about that. Like I moved every day for 11 months and 2 weeks, So as long as you see it, if there's value for yourself and it creates that, then I definitely think that.
One of the key words that I bring in, especially as we start looking at the new year, is we all know there's, we have intention to do something.
Yeah.
And then there's inspiration. Something comes from within and says, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then there's motivation, which will come from the outside.
Yeah.
I motivate people, you motivate people.
Yeah.
But the fourth thing is incentive. Mm-hmm. And incentive is, okay, what's in it for me? What am I going to get from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's funny is that, well, I put a lot of my clients on the bank journal.
Oh, yeah, mental bank journal. Yeah.
And which we are recreating.
Yeah.
That's coming.
That's
by
a
the
good
way,
thing.
that's
a good thing.
Redoing it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mutual client that you and I have, a young man, and you used to train him, and I still work with him.
Yeah.
And so this individual was going up and down with it and having interesting reasons why it didn't get done.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and this is an interesting incentive, and what motivates people is that, look, our candles that your wife has.
The special candle. We have like 40 candles.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of candles. Our candles sell for $32.
Yeah.
And I said to this young man, because he likes them,
Yeah.
I said, do the mental bank for 32 straight nights without missing, and you can have the candle of your choice.
And he did?
He hasn't, well, it's not 32 days yet, but he hasn't missed.
Wow. And he's texting you?
Yep, every night. So sometimes people just need that incentive along with the motivation and the inspiration.
That's true.
To cement the intention.
Yeah. There's always an incentive behind it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think if you know what that incentive is, you know what I mean? Like for him, I know who that person is. That candle is super, because when you think about that candle, it's not just like a basic candle from Bath and Body Works kind of thing, you know what I mean? It smells like cinnamon. This is like the Nick special. This is like the Tuesday special right here, So you kind of like, you feel different when you light those candles. I'm promoting your candles and your body gels and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like we have it all. And there is a nice concept to like, when you smell that, you do take in the magic that's like put into that candle. So I can definitely see that as an incentive for that person. That's funny that you say that.
So we have Audrey's typing. By the way, hi, Catherine Glass and Heather Grace. Thanks for watching. Appreciate that. By the way, and Mrs. Fravel is sitting back there. We have a new holiday candle called White Christmas, and it is really good. And it's sprinkled with it's white and it's sprinkled with little tiny red and green crystals on it.
There you
but
go.
it smells good. Okay. Anyway, we'll be featuring them. Anyway, yes. So with the candles, I guess we have to come up with one that's like Sweaty Jim. Or something like that.
More like a masculine candle.
Yeah.
Tobacco.
They have tobacco oil. They have tobacco oil. It's funny you would bring that up. So what about people that everybody's got a different kind of schedule?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Some people work longer days. But first of all, the person who has the typical office job that works a long day, what can a person do at the office? Because some people sit all day.
It's so funny because I was literally thinking about that all day, and I think about someone like Audie, my wife, that's right there, and I tell her, I mean, she'll probably nod her head, but I tell her you need to get your butt up and you need to stretch and you need to like move somehow, right? I think a lot of us, we get so stagnant just by sitting in this same position like this, right? And we're just doing this the whole time,
right?
That when you don't give yourself that movement throughout the day, then you're not getting your steps in, right? Because they always say like 10,000 steps is like the average number of steps you should be doing per day to like want to lose weight or get good cardiovascular system. But like I also believe like movement is key. So like if you're not moving, your energy is just staying there, right? It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Our body's meant to move and do things. So when someone I know that I train that's in an office all day, there's a component of like, how motivated are you to get up and want to do a workout, right? It's cold outside. I train 2 moms. I call them the moms of Westlake, and and they're down the street from here. And we get up. I get up at 4:45, and I train 3 days a week, right? And I'm pretty much up early because I run early too. But we talked about that during wintertime is always the hardest time because it's cold, it's rainy, it snows, depending on where you're from. California, not really. A little drizzle tomorrow. But when you look at it from a standpoint like that, like what's your motivation those mornings, right? What's your intention those mornings? So like there's people that will grind it out early morning and there's people that will be the evening people, right? So they get off of work depending on their schedule. I always say like, so I have a friend and I actually train her and her family, and she started to feel like she started gaining weight and she started to feel like not her typical self. So she actually bought a treadmill, standing treadmill desk thing, right? So she has this little treadmill and she walks, I think she was walking almost 20,000 steps.
Wow.
Right. And so just having that aspect of like going slow, but walking definitely does change your perspective, right? So like you have someone like that can definitely like, hey, I'm going to take 8 hours of my day, and if I'm not going to be able to work out within this 8 hours, I'm going to do something like this, which is, you know, walking on a treadmill, going on lunch and walking outside. So there's actually some people that come in on lunch break and will actually work out for like 45 minutes and then take a quick shower and then go back to work, right? So you have like, you break down the people, right? So like for you have that aspect, okay, this is the time I start my day. Okay, so if I really want to get after it, this is the time slots I have. You know what I mean? Because you know yourself, and I know myself after a certain time frame, I'm not going to want to work out. And if I do work out, is it junk miles or is it like a junk workout just because I need to work out? Like what's the intention behind that, you know? And I've been there a lot and I still go through that with my schedule. You know, I got like 3 jobs really going on. And so the balance is, okay, like if I'm working a 9-to-5 job and I need to move, what can I do within that time frame? I would say, like we talked about dumbbells, right? So like you can keep, like some people will keep small weights in their office and they'll actually do like an arm workout, right? They may not like go to the gym and have like all these machines, but the simple movements of a bicep curl, right? A shoulder press, a tricep extension, you can just really focus, okay, like one day is this, the next day could be leg day where you can sit there and just do air squats, and you can do push-ups, you can do lunges, like whatever it may be calisthenic wise. Those are a lot of things that people should look at. You don't necessarily need a gym to get physically fit. You just need the motivation to want to get physically fit. So like if you can find anything around your office, like there's actually people that will pick up like a chair and like hold the chair up above their head and do some squats. You know what I mean? Like some people like I brought this, like some people have like a resistance band, right? And they'll do certain things to like really work out their shoulder, right? And then you can do certain things where you hold it and then you can do like a bicep curl. Like there's so many different things you can do with just this band alone, that people from 9 to 5 can do. Like entrepreneurs, it's another story. Like you're an entrepreneur, but you kind of have a set schedule where like I'm not working past 6 o'clock. Like this is my time frame. You know what I mean? Someone like me, I have a section of people in the morning. I have midday to myself, and then afternoon, nighttime to clients, right? And I don't get home usually till like 8:30 sometimes on, 3 days a week training people. And so I have to take my time, like my time is valuable. So I need to make sure I block off this time block for myself to get my run in, to get some lunch in, and to do other things. So like entrepreneurs may have a different lifestyle where they have to figure out, okay, like they have to look at their schedule more in advance and be like, okay, this week I have these meetings. This week I have to go here for the appointments. And so people like that, it's going to be a different concept, you know?
Right.
For me, it was, I mean, I'm all over the place, especially when it comes to long distance running. You can't just be like, I'm going to break up my run for an hour and break up another run, another hour, another time frame. Like, you know, like I have to adapt to be able to run for 2 hours straight. So I have to like figure out a window to do that. And sometimes I cut my run a little shorter because of my laziness of like wanting to go out, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's also looking at like your lifestyle, you know what I mean? Like if you really want to get after it, you're going to do whatever it takes in that 9 to 5 before or after, or even at lunch break
Right.
to want to do something. But I tell Audie all the time, stand up, stretch, you know what I mean? Like do arm circles, even if it's just like getting the energy moving, you know what I mean? Like doing yoga. I mean, stretching like that in the office. I mean, not much space right now right here, but I mean, you have plenty of opportunity to do things. It's just
Sure.
getting up and doing that.
Well, throughout the day at our center, I get up and walk down the hall, walk to the other side, move around, you know.
Yeah.
The soup place is in the other parking lot. Walk over
You
there.
just go to Gorham Fitness and might as well just do a bicep curl while you're there.
That's funny. Well, you know what's funny is our building is a very long building, and there's a handful of tenants in there, and I know what those guys do for a living.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
walk around the building
Multiple times.
multiple times.
Yeah. I seen people walk down to like the tavern, even past that to like Chesbro, and then kind of walk back. And that's like a good like mile, probably almost half mile out, half mile back. I think just
Yeah.
like moving is key. Like my chiropractor, Aaron, he's always big off movement itself because it's the energy that you carry. You know, when you're having a hard day, what's the first thing you want to do? You don't want to just go home and just like drink, right? Some people do, some people don't. I mean, whatever it is. But like some people say like, I just need to go out and de-stress myself. And so they may go to the gym. They may
Right.
scream. They may run. They may, go for a bike ride, whatever it is. But I think having some type of movement every day, even if it's just shaking out the energy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, when we were working out this morning, there's something that you brought up which was really interesting. And we were talking about the going on a hike.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
And how some people are carrying weights with them and doing all that. And you said it very well this morning about the real attitude and posture of what a hike should be when you're out in nature.
Yeah, it's reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to God, whatever you want to believe, you know. But I was telling you over the weekend, like we were climbing up this big ridge, and this guy was walking up and doing this, and I said, man, that's like taking away your whole present moment of looking around you and being like, wow, like I'm around beautiful mountains, but I'm so focused on like I'm taking myself out of that hike and enjoying Mother Nature, and I'm adding something to it that's just taking away the moment of like reconnecting with yourself. I mean, that's just that's just my opinion, right? I wouldn't go up unless I was training for something. Like military people have rucks, so of course they're gonna like, it's a different mindset, a different intention. But if your intention is just to get outside and move, I would not want to like have something like that for me personally, because there's an aspect of if you slip and fall, what are you gonna grab? You know what I mean? Like you have nothing to hold on to. But it's also an aspect of like you're looking in front of you, it's like a beautiful ocean, a beautiful tree. You know, you just want to like sit there and close your eyes and meditate and like hear the word of God, or hear whatever your angels or whatever your guides are telling you. You know what I mean? Like you want to like all take that in, you know. And it's hard for me to process that because I see guys do it all the time, and I think to myself, man, like if they can just put that dumbbell down and put that kettlebell down, it may change their perspective on reconnecting to Mother Nature. And I think nowadays, especially with like everything going on, it's like, why wouldn't you want that time away from all that? You know, like Mother Nature is like a healing thing. You know, there's been studies showing that like talking to water in a certain way and hugging a tree, right? You know what I mean? We have a tree hugger right in front of us. And she'll do that to reconnect to herself and Mother Nature. You talk about that, you know, and I think it's interesting. It's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, if you guys do that, then that's good for you guys. You know what I mean? But I think for me personally, different story.
Well, I know that when Audrey goes to the beach, she's not taking weights or anything like that. She's really connecting with the atmosphere, the feeling there,
Yeah.
and when she walks, she'll stretch and do stuff like that. But she's really just experiencing that.
And there's like beach workouts. I think like if your intention is I'm gonna go to the beach and do a beach workout, perfect. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go on a hike and carry kettlebell and do bicep curls, perfect. You know what I mean? I think it all comes down to what your intention throughout that day is. So like if I was gonna go to the beach, what's the one thing most people do? They go in a bathing suit, they read a book, and they lay in the sun and become a lobster, right? you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's usually what people do because the water gives out certain positive, negative ions within your body, so it kind of zens you out, and that's why a lot of people love the beach.
Right.
But like that's why people love hiking, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's true. It's like when you look at it from that standpoint, you know what I mean? Everyone's intention might be a little different within that realm. But I mean, I always believe like when you're outside, just enjoy what's around you.
Right.
You know what I mean? As kids, we used to just bike all day, right?
Yep,
Like, we
I
never
remember that.
we never go inside. You know, we always wanted to be outside, and half the time we're just running around, no cell phones, no nothing, no social media. And I think
Right.
nowadays all that stuff kind of affects us.
Audrey's saying she's a tree hugger. Audrey, let's go hug a tree soon.
All right.
Where we used to live over the past few years, sometimes you and I would take those paths.
Oh, yeah.
And you couldn't be carrying weights, because some of those paths, especially when you got near the creek,
Oh yeah.
you had to be
You had to be holding on to a tree trunk or something that was
Right.
around you. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and plus, like, I mean, I guess in some sense of like a coyote was there and you're scared, you could like throw a weight at it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how big the mountain lion is, but I mean, I guess I can see that, but I don't know. Maybe my intention is because I run out on the trail so much that I think when I see a lot of people out of the box, we'll call it, it always puts a perspective like, I wonder why they're doing that. You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
when you're running, you're literally like running on what God created. So it's a different energy
Right.
than being in a gym. Like I feel like if you're going to lift weights and do things like that, I think you should be in a setting where it gets you going. It gets you motivated to be like, all right, cool. All my weights are right here. I'm going to work out right here. I'm going to get it done. You know what I mean? And I think when you're adding another thing to another thing, maybe it just changes my perspective.
Well, some people need the incentive of other people in the gym to look at that. When I was in my 20s and I was working out in my living room, I had different kinds of benches and bars and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
But for me, like working out like that, and of course I've belonged to a gym here and there,
Yeah.
but it's for me, my workout and the way I am, my intensity, I'm better off by myself
Yeah.
or one-on-one with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking to my program because when I was just living on my own back in those days, I was in incredible shape. I mean, really built.
You sure are.
Well,
You just got to tell yourself that.
the funny thing is that as we've worked out so many times now, something you said to me, you were joking about when we do the show tonight, that to wear a real tight-fitting shirt.
Yeah.
But when I went later to take a shower, my muscles respond very fast.
Yeah.
And
You felt like that?
I could see it. It wasn't just felt like it. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's energy you carry. Like, I think if you tell yourself, like, I'm physically fit, my arms are getting bigger, this and that, your body knows that, right? There's been studies
Right.
showing that, like, you can visualize, like, you're already doing a chest workout, and then all of a sudden your muscles grow, right?
Right.
And it's very fascinating that how the body responds with different stresses or different things in life. And yeah, like we talked about it jokingly, but then you put it on, you're like, oh, I got something, or something's starting to come there right now. You know what I mean? I tell myself that too. Like a lot of people at where I work at the gym too, they don't think I work out. They don't see running for me as like a workout, right? Because they're so used to like lifting iron and dropping weights and stuff. But like, there's a mental component for a workout with me, right? With running. And then there's also a component where I work out with people that motivate me. Because sometimes I'll look at everything at home and be like, I don't want to do this today.
Right.
But when I have someone like my friend John, I'm like, hey, let's work out together. I usually give you your workouts anyway. We'll just do it together so I can show you everything. And then we can just have like bro time. right? And so it makes it easier. Even with you this morning, while I was showing you the deadlift, I was stretching out and I was feeling pretty good myself. And I was like, wow, like I should be doing this more often.
Well, the funny thing about today, and this is when you know the workout is going well, normally our workout is an hour, and you were saying to me, you know, you want to do one more, you good on time? And I looked at that point, it was, instead of being 10, it was almost 10:30. And I said, yeah, let's do one more. So we ended up working out for 90 minutes.
It was the shrooms, Nick. That's all it was.
The shrooms.
We were like, oh, where were we?
We're in the nature of Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, we were. We were naked, lighting fires, and just having a good time out in the forest, wildwood.
It'll be on the next episode of Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, Naked and Afraid, you know.
Until I get in shape, I'm afraid to be naked.
My battle scores went up.
Here we go. We're going back down that path again. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the mental part. I mean, the physical part is what people want, but and you've taken a lot of classes at the Newmont Center. You're an energy worker. But when you see people struggling with the mental part, what do you do for them?
I look honestly like, so for me, I struggle still with the mental aspect of it's kind of funny because like your wife will tell me like the timeline stuff, right? Look at stuff. So I literally, stuff I learned from you guys, I translate it to them, but intuitively I just know what's going on. Like I can pick it up right away. And so mental aspect, I literally like, I have these conversations with every athlete every week, once a week, and even through texts, but mostly phone for the most part. And I'll literally have this conversation, and then I'll ask them 1,000 things. What's going on mentally? Like, why didn't you do this workout this week? What's going on? Is it stress? Is it this? And so once I break down even further, okay, I give them the goal. Okay, so here's your goals, right, for this coming week. But it is interesting because a mental component is very hard to like, because we all go through it, right? Even though we could be bulletproof, and in some aspect we're not, you know. I mean, there's a part of us that will have self-doubt, and then we'll kind of go down this like the whole tunnel again and be like, wait, am I good enough? Am I feeling this way, you know? And so sometimes you have to step outside of that to understand what's creating that that mental-ish problem, you know what I mean? Because I mean, when you're running anything more than, for you it could be like, I'm running more than 2 miles, 3 miles, I don't know what I'm doing, right? And like you can doubt yourself so much, but then once you get past that, you're like, oh my gosh, like I feel great, right? And then you just know that it's only for a little bit of your time, 10 minutes of that run that you felt like that, but then the rest of the run, you felt amazing.
Right.
So it's like, okay, mental thing, like what do I do personally for my clients? I have a conversation with them. I break down their log and I'll be like, okay, it looks like some issues are going on here. Okay, is it work stress? Is it family stress? Is it that you don't feel fast enough because you're looking at social media? Social media could be very hard on people. And then I give them exercises. You know, I tell one girl, Morgan, you know, I told her in the past, like write some stuff down, like journal, like meditate, you know. She's very into crystals and all this stuff. So, you know what I mean? I'll literally tell her like meditate and get an answer for you, you know what I mean? But like, even at a certain point, is it more of a mental thing for you, or is it a physical thing? Okay, what's creating this and what's creating that? What can we do to get you out of that box, right?
Right.
And then even for myself, I have to second guess it. My coach Keith, you know, I mean, he's one of my good friends, one of my best friends out there, and hey Keith. And you know, I mean, like we'll talk about this stuff every day. We had a podcast and we called it Cool Down Convos, and it was all about not just the physical part of running, but the mental side and the spirituality of running, and what creates that and what doesn't create it, and what we can do to get ourselves out of that. And it really is it's a kind of like a easy question, but kind of hard question, because everyone like you just know what's up in the ethers. You can feel it, you sense it, you see it, right? For a lot of other people that are not open to that, you know, like the classes I took from you and Audrey opened up my abilities to see everything from a different perspective. And it's also a gift that I need to accept, right? It's accepting what you feel like you don't deserve then it changes your perspective on everything else, because now you realize, oh my gosh, like God gave me this gift, let me use it, right? And that's what Audie tells me, like God gave me a gift, I just need to overcome it, this mental aspect, this mental block we call it. But there's a lot of things you can do. A lot of people actually will read self-help books, right? But sometimes it doesn't work. It only works for a second, and then it stops. You know what I mean? So it's getting down to the nitty gritty of like why you feel that way. And a lot of the exercises that Audrey taught me, I kind of like use that, but I translate a little bit differently with my clients. You know what I mean? So it is stuff I learned from you, stuff I've been through. I think it's much easier when you've been through that same situation, because it's easier to guide them and be like, I've been there. And it's funny because a lot of my clients that I train in the beginning, they were all things that I dealt with or I'm going through it at that moment too. So we can kind of have this relationship and relate in some aspect, you know. Me and you relate in some aspect because of the abilities. You accepted your abilities at this age, right? You understood it, and it wasn't like that. And for me, it was like, I don't understand it. Do I want it? And then you said, no, you need to open up your abilities. And the moment I did, things started shifting and changing.
Sure.
You know? And then my mental state changed because of that. But then I got lazy with it and stopped doing it. But now I'm getting back into the routine again. And your classes definitely helped out with the mental state that, I mean, when you first met me, I was in a different state of mind.
Right. I remember
you know, 2018, couldn't leave my house, and look at me now. You know, I'm in Westlake. I'm running. I'm doing a lot more in my life now than I have 5 years ago. Oh my God, 5 years ago now. Man, we know each other for 5 years, Nick.
Right.
Going on 6 years.
Because when you started coming to me, I was in that first room off of the waiting room.
Yeah.
And that's when we had moved downstairs.
I was shaking. I was like so nervous, full of anxiety and depression. And we got down to the root of the cause. But that was a big mental barrier for me. It was going to someone like you and not knowing what this whole experience was. You know, like,
oh yeah.
You know, I met Jeff is the one who told me about you, but then another client that is yours and mine, Carla, she's the one who mentioned you. And I said, oh my gosh, I have an appointment with him. And she mentioned how great you are and how she got to the nitty gritty of everything. And then the moment I had that's when I remember you told me about my old life coach and all this stuff. And we had to cut cords and everything. But that was more of a mental barrier of like overcoming that aspect. I think we all have mental blocks when we move to life because everyone, I mean, nothing's ever perfect, right? Like, you're not sailing this way. There's always going to be the up and down, but like the reward is when you hit up high and know that you just came from here to here. It's like climbing that mountain. You know what I mean? Like the moment I climbed that big ass mountain and 11,000 feet up, I was all by myself, no one around me, and I literally heard God tell me like, climb that mountain and talk to me. And it was like, and that was a mental challenge right there, you know what I mean? And I had to overcome that to get to that mountain. But that's the whole point of it, is you suffer, and then you get over that, and then you reach the top, and then you enjoy what you just, you know, put yourself through.
And when you're working out and it's running or, you know, lifting weights, I mean, I've experienced when you break through and you get that high, where all of a sudden, it is a high.
It is.
Where it's like, oh, can I get there? Can I get there? And all of a sudden you break through, and it's all of a sudden you're just on this whole different energetic level, and you just keep going.
Yeah, it's literally just taking, like, if you see like a big mountain in front of you, it may not be one try getting up to the top. It may end up being like 20 million tries, but each time you do it, you get further and further away, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm good to go. I just overcame a lot of stuff. And I think that's where we need to like look at it from a perspective of like how strong you are. Like, I tell all my clients that like, you're a strong person, you're a passionate person, you're such a loving person. And I think giving yourself that aspect of knowing that, it changes your perspective on everything else in life.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, affirmations.
People feeling good about themselves.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a couple minutes left. So if people want to employ you for what you do, tell them how to get a hold of you.
You can call me at 805-407-3977. That's my mobile number. You can contact me through Run Free Running Club. So it's runfree running club at gmail.com. My website is runfreerunningclub.net. And Yeah, I mean, like there's a little area where you can just send me a message and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, definitely, hit me up if you have any questions about anything. I mean, I think when we first met and started working out together was what, 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And you asked me a bunch of questions while we were doing that blessing at that one place.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it, and then I told Audie, I said, I don't know if Nick's gonna want to hire me as a trainer, but then we end up hiring it. I mean, you hired
Right.
me, and then all of a sudden, like we're like two peas in a pod. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Peanut butter celery.
There we go. No. And Brandon does a heck of a job. He understands, male and female age and all that. And
Yeah.
when it comes to, age, and I know everybody looks at that differently.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people my age, and I have to tell you, and how they look, how they feel.
Yeah.
And I can run circles around most people my age.
So that's great.
You know,
as
in
you
so
get
many
older,
ways.
That's great.
Yep.
That's awesome. And especially when those grandkids come.
Right.
You got to keep up with them somehow, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, I keep up with a bunch of teenagers,
Oh,
high
yeah.
school, coaching
Those
softball.
are all the kids right there. All the
Right.
grandkids right there.
Right.
Getting
So,
headaches.
I have, I have what it takes. I just need to sort of repackage myself a bit more.
yeah.
But I'm in process doing that. Look, one thing. Thanks. One thing I can say about working with Brandon, he makes it fun. There's no punishment. It's like, look, what you put into it is what you get from it.
Yeah.
And nowadays there are so many different kinds of health challenges that are out there that we have to work through. There's environmental stuff. There's all kinds of things that we have to be better at and do.
Yep.
And it's not just about longevity. It's not just about living to 95. It's like, are you healthy? Are you mentally and physically healthy? That's what it's about. And tomorrow night on Audrey's show with Dr. Sharon Winters and Heather Grace Powers, they're going to get more into health, being healthy.
Yep.
But like I said, if you want a great trainer, this gentleman right here, he is really good. He has so many different kinds of techniques.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can meet him at a gym. You can have him come to your house.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very accommodating. So, I mean, I'm thrilled to be working with you.
Thanks, Nick.
Have a good time. Absolutely. I recommend you to everybody and anybody. And there we go. Very good. There's the graphics up there.
Yeah.
So we're getting down toward the end. And as always, I do want to thank all of you for watching Mainstream Metaphysics. It's been more than 4 years now this show has
Wow.
been going.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And we are very thrilled to be on Conejo Valley Talk Radio, which is getting ready to explode. And of course, the Newmont Consciousness Network.
Yeah.
I have to tell you something. I know you do a podcast, but you need to be on this station too, because you are so fascinating, so interesting.
Yeah.
And along with everything else, you're genuine, and which makes you very entertaining.
I guess that's a good thing, you know?
It is. You don't do a boring show. So
I got cheesy jokes. That's how I got my wife over there. you know?
right. Well, the good thing is, you're doing something right, and I have the same situation.
Yeah.
When your wife laughs at your jokes, you know that you have a good relationship that's going on.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of that stuff. I know. I think I already have my own podcast, but maybe I'll end up doing it here now just to make it much easier on this network. I'll figure that out.
Absolutely, and Ed will take good care of
Yep.
you. Anyway, I believe it is time for us to sign off. Once again, Brandon, thanks for coming
Thanks,
on.
Nick.
And thank you. I'm Nick Newmont. This has been Mainstream Metaphysics. And remember, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I will see you next week right back here. Good night, everyone.